the chapter 제가 저는 제, which is used to talk about yourself. So if you want to talk about yourself, which is a pretty, oh, there's some sirens in the background. Hopefully that's not too loud. But if you want to talk about yourself, it's a pretty useful skill in any language. It's probably what we'd spend a lot of our time doing, is talking about ourselves. So when you do it in Korean, there's a couple different ways. Now this chapter references the textbook. This is the textbook right here. And there is a corresponding chapter in this textbook talking about 제가 and 저는. So be sure to read this before you do the workbook. But here we are in the workbook. We can look at this as well. So the first question is comprehension. Select the correct answer to the following multiple choice questions. A. 제가 is the noun 저 combined with 1. The topic particle, 2. The subject particle, or 3. The object particle. So 제가 is, the answer to this question is number 2, the subject particle. When you add the subject particle to 저, it becomes 제가. Now, this word 저 means I or me, but it's rarely, if ever, used by itself. It's almost always combined with a particle. In this case, 제가 is 저 combined with the subject particle, which is the 이가 subject particle. Okay, number 2, B. 저는 is the noun 저 combined with 1. The topic particle, 2. The subject particle, or 3. The object particle. This one, the answer is 1. 저는, this is a bit easier to see, right? It's 저 plus the 는 topic particle. Okay, C. 제 means 1, I or me, 2, my, or 3, you. So the answer to this one is number 2, my. So be careful of this. You might think it's kind of a short form of this or something like that, but this is actually a contraction of 저, again this 저, plus the 의 particle. And this 의 particle is the possessive particle. We don't teach this until much later in the book, but for background information, this is the possessive particle combined with 저 gives you 제. So the possessive particle is kind of like apostrophe S in English. Sarah's food or Tom's pizza, things like that. So when you combine it with 저, it becomes 제, and that means my. Okay. So let's look at how they're different. What's the difference between 저는 and 제가? So first question, 저는 is used to answer 1. Who questions, e.g. who did this? Or 2. What questions, e.g. what did you do? So in this case, 저는, when you use the topic particle, it's used to answer what questions. If someone's asking, what are you doing? What do you study? What are you eating? Things like that. You start with 저는. But if someone is asking, so let's look at 제가 now. If you're using 제가, it's used to answer 1. Who questions, e.g. who did this? Or 2. What questions, e.g. what did you do? So 제가 is used to answer who questions. If someone's asking who did this or who did that, you would, if you were the one that did it, you would say 제가, I did this. Now this is because 저는 places emphasis on what comes after it. It places emphasis on this. 저는, I do something. This is where the emphasis is placed. Whereas 제가 places emphasis on me. It emphasizes that I am the person who's doing something. So depending on the context, sometimes a different one is appropriate. Sometimes 저는's more appropriate if you want to emphasize, I'm doing this. What am I doing? Well, I'm doing this. whereas sometimes 제가 is more appropriate because you're emphasizing me, I. It's not the only difference between 는 and 이가. There are other differences as well, but this is one of these differences. Okay, F. The topic particle establishes the topic of 1. Only the sentence that it is in, 2. Up to 3 sentences, or 3. All future sentences until the topic changes. So, this is an interesting feature of the topic particle and one that's easy to overlook as a learner. But the topic particle establishes the topic of all future sentences until the topic of conversation changes. So once you place the topic particle on a noun, like me or you or whoever it is, they are the topic of future sentences until a new particle is used. I'm studying this right now. Well, how fortuitous. It's very, what a coincidence. Okay, couple more multiple choice questions. G. Which of the following sentences is more natural in Korean? So we've got 2 sentences. 1, 저는 피자를 먹어요. 저는 피자를 좋아해요. 저는 빵을 좋아해요. So that's one option. I eat pizza, I like pizza, I like bread. I like pizza, 저는 피자를 먹어요. I like pizza, 저는 피자를 좋아해요. And I like bread. So is that more natural? Or how about this? 저는 피자를 먹어요. 피자를 좋아해요. 빵을 좋아해요. I eat pizza, I like pizza, I like bread. So which of these 2 sentences is more natural? So the answer here is 2. The second sentence is more natural. See, in here, in this sentence up here, you have a 저는 in every single sentence, right? That's the difference, which you don't need in Korean. Once you establish the topic, it still applies in future sentences. Now, adding a topic in every sentence is not necessarily wrong. Everyone will understand it, and it's not necessarily wrong or bad. But it's more natural to just say it once, and then in these future sentences, you remember that the topic is me. So even though in English, we have to have an I in every sentence, right? It's a common sort of thing when you're learning Korean. As an English speaker, we have to have an I or a subject in every single sentence. Without it, it doesn't make sense. But Korean is not quite the same. In Korean, you can drop this chonin in future sentences, and actually it's a little bit more natural that way. But if you say this, it's okay. Everyone will understand you. It's not necessarily bad, but this is just a little bit better. Okay. H. What is the topic of these 3 sentences? So the sentences we have is 1. 제 친구는 운동해요. 운동을 좋아해요. 샐러드를 먹어요. So, 제 친구는 운동해요. 운동을 좋아해요. 샐러드를 먹어요. Those are the 3 sentences. What is the topic that we're talking about? What is the topic of these 3 sentences? Is it 1, me or myself? 2, my friend? Or 3, exercise? Hello, I bought the grammar book and the 2 workbooks and they're great. Thank you so much. So, the answer is this. You simply have to find the topic particle. Where is the topic particle? It's on 제 친구. 제 친구, which is my friend. My friend is the topic of these sentences. And again, the same thing like here. Once you establish this topic, my friend, the first sentence is my friend exercises. The topic is still my friend. My friend likes exercise. She 좋아해요. She likes exercise. 운동 is exercise. And number 3, she or he, we don't know necessarily if it's a she or a he, but I'm going to say she eats salad. This is also my friend. So my friend, even though it's only used here, it also applies in these sentences as well. Okay, so next, let's look more at choosing between 제가 and 저는. A. 누가 사과를 먹어요? So 누가 means who. Who 사과를 먹어요? 누가 사과를 먹어요? Who eats apples? Right? And remember, when you're asking a who question, you answer 제가. 제가 사과를 먹어요. I eat apples. What about this next one? 뭘 먹어요? 뭘 means what? It's actually kind of a contraction of 무엇, which means thing or what, plus the object particle, and it commonly gets shortened to 뭘. Anyway, 뭘 means what, so this means what do you eat? And because it's a what question, we say 저는. 저는 피자를 먹어요. I eat pizza. What about this one? C. 뭘 공부해요? What do you study? Again, this is a what question. So we say 저는 I 한국어를 공부해요. I study Korean. Because you're answering a what question. What are you doing? I am studying Korean. This is what I'm doing. Using 저는 emphasizes the thing that comes after it. And that answers the question, right? This is what is answering the question. I'm studying Korean. This is what I'm doing. Okay, D. 누가 한국어를 공부해요? Who studies Korean? This is a who question. So, 제가. I study Korean. 제가 한국어를 공부해요. When you use 제가, you emphasize me, which is answering the question, right? You're answering the question of who is studying Korean. Well, the answer is me. I am doing it. Okay. And this one, E. 뭘 먹어요? What are you eating? Again, this is a what question. So it's asking about your actions, what you're doing. And to answer this, you say 저는. 저는 샐러드를 먹어요. I'm eating a salad. The first letter G, it looks like a su. Yeah, so there's two ways you can write the J sound in Korean. This is most common in textbooks, in like computer fonts, and this is most common in handwriting. So as a habit, I'm used to writing like this. You might be more familiar with it looking like this, but they are the same, exactly the same character. Okay. Now again, this isn't the only difference between the subject particle and the topic particle. There are more differences than this, but this is a good place to start. When people ask, do I use 저는 or do I use 제가? This is one way you can tell. Okay. Now, let's choose between 제가 and 제. So, in this case, remember that 제가 means I or me, and 제 means my or mine. So, A. So the question is, use the appropriate word, 제가 or 제, to answer the question. Note, you may also have to add either the 이카 subject particle or the 을을 object particle. Okay, so we're going to be practicing two things. We're going to be practicing 제가 and 제, and we're also going to be practicing our particles, our subject and object particles. Okay, A. My pizza is good. So we're using my, right? So it's 제. 제 피자가 좋아요. My pizza is good. Versus I eat pizza, right? This is talking about me, myself. So 저는 피자를 먹어요. Or 제가 I guess this is asking between 제가 and 제. So 제가 피자를 먹어요 or 저는 피자를 먹어요. I study Korean. Okay, so we're talking about I again. So we're using 제가. You can also use 저는. 한국어 blank 공부해요. So here we need to add a particle. Does anyone know what particle I need to use here to complete this sentence? To make a good sentence in Korean, which particle should go here after 한국어? So 한국어 means the Korean language. And 공부하다 is an action verb. It requires doing an action. And when you're doing an action, you would need the object particle. 를. And because 한국어 ends on a vowel sound, that's why we're using 를, not Okay, so 제가 한국어를 공부해요. or 저는 한국어를 공부해요. Okay, now we have another one. I like ice cream. I like ice cream. So we're using I again. So we're going to be using 제가 or 저는. Both are fine. Ice cream. Now we have to have another particle here. So which particle do we need? Well, in order to know what particle you need, you have to look at the verb. This is how you know what particle to use. Now, 좋아하다 is an action verb. These are both actions. Both action verbs. And when you have an action verb, you use the object particle. So in this case, we add because ice cream, which is the pronunciation or spelling of ice cream, ends on a consonant sound, so you attach 제가 아이스크림을 좋아해요. or 저는 아이스크림을 좋아해요. I like ice cream. Why is that? Why do we use or 를? Because 좋아하다 is an action verb. It's an action verb, and when you perform an action, the thing that you are acting upon takes the object particle. There's a common mistake for English learners, common confusion between 좋아하다 and 좋다. These are a common mistake. So the important thing to know is this is an action verb. But 좋다 is a descriptive verb. So in Korean, verbs can either be defined as an action verb or a descriptive verb, an active verb or a passive verb. So when you have an active verb, an action verb, like study, eat, things like that, you use the object particle. But and with 좋다, because this is a descriptive verb, it uses the subject particle. So here you use 를, and here you use 가. I'm going to use some colors to make that stand out a bit. So action verbs use 를, and descriptive verbs use 가. Now, why did I not use it in 먹어요? So 먹어요 uses the 를 particle because pizza ends on a vowel sound. But ice cream ends on a consonant sound, so we attach Okay. So now E. My friend studies English. Okay. So we're using my, so we're talking about my friend, which means we're going to be using 제 친구. Now, which particle do we need to use here? Which particle do we need here? 제 친구 blank 영어를 공부해요. So we're trying to say, my friend studies English. My friend studies English. So we have my friend here, right? This is my friend. 제 친구. Okay. Now, what particle goes here? 영어를 공부해요. So we know they're doing the action of studying. This is 공부해요, study. And 영어 is English. Now, my friend is the person who's doing the action, right? She's the person who is performing the action. So you need to use 가 or 는 here. You can use either one, but you cannot use the object particle. Remember that the object particle goes on the thing that you're studying. So you're studying English, right? This is the object of the sentence. The object of the thing that you're studying is English, but the person doing the action is my friend. And so the objects of sentences always take the object particle, and the subjects of sentences always take the subject particle. So 제 친구가 영어를 공부해요, or 제 친구는 영어를 공부해요. All right. Okay, so now number 4, 쟤 and 우리. Why not 를? Why is this not 를? So if you tried to put 를 here, it would not make sense. Because I'm not even sure how I would translate that. It would be something like my friend. No, I don't even know. English is studied. English friend is studied. English and friend is studied. It's very odd. You don't typically have two objects in a sentence. The object here is English. This is what she's studying. The subject is the person doing the studying. So you usually have, at least one object and at least one subject, usually. All right. I'm not sure if that's a clear explanation. We practiced the difference between ika and öler last time. So if you want to practice more on the difference between ika and öler, I recommend you go back and practice this chapter. Here we spend more time on it, and we talk about it a lot more. Here we're just kind of using that information. So, but now we're looking at the difference between 쟤 and 우리. So, 쟤 we know means mine, and 우리 means our. So 쟤 is my or mine, and 우리 is our. But it's not used in all of the same ways that we use my and our in English. By the way, this is the book right here. It's also linked in this live stream and on our profile. Level 1 workbook. So in Korean, the word 우리 is used in situations that we would not use it our in English. And we're going to see some examples of this here. Basically, when you're talking about something that is specific to you, you generally use my. But things that are shared, things that belong to more than one person, generally use 우리 in Korean. But in English, we would still write my. We'll see this in some examples. So the first one is apple. 사과 is apple. Now, if it's an object, something that you own, something that you have, you can just say 쟤, my apple. B. Now, a job. Your job is also yours. It's my job. You can just say 쟤. But number 3, 나라 means country. Now, in Korean, you don't say 쟤 나라 because your country, it belongs to more than just you, right? It belongs to all the people that live there. So we say 우리 나라. Now, that's a very common question in Korean. People might ask you, what do you do in your country? What do you like to do in your country? Or what foods are popular in your country? And that's the translation of this 우리 나라. We don't usually say that in English. We'd probably say something like, what do you like where you're from? Or, what foods are popular where you're from? Things like that. But in Korean, this 우리 나라 is a very common way to talk about that concept. Okay, now 아빠. 아빠 means dad. And do you think we use che or uri when talking about your parents or your family members. So in Korean, they say uri, uri appa. In English, we always say my dad, right? My mum, my dad. But in Korean, they use uri. And again, it's this idea of your dad is not necessarily just yours, right? It's your sibling's dad as well. She's the dad of your family. So it's uri appa. Uri appa. Now we have check. Check. Check again is just an object that can be owned by just you. So we just say che check. And lastly, F, a house. Do we say, which one do we use for house in Korean? Do we say uri or che? Which one do you think? Generally, you say uri. Uri chip. Uri chip. Again, it's this idea of, your house is not just yours. For family members, it's your whole family's house. It's your mother's house, your father's house, your sister's house, your brother's house. It's our house. Uri chip. And in general, for family members, in Korean you use uri. You also use uri a lot for anything to do with school, like my school, my class, my classmates. All of those also use uri in Korean. So that's a little difference between English and Korean. I bought these 2 level workbooks. Thank you for these. You're welcome. I'm glad you enjoy them. Okay, so here's just a notice that from here on out, we're going to translate the English I to 저는. This is because most of the practice sentences in this book are making general statements about oneself. E.g., I do this or I like that, and 저는 is most appropriate in this context. Please be aware that using 제가 is not necessarily incorrect, and indeed can be more appropriate in certain contexts. See, what we learned before. But in the absence of this context, we will assume that 저는 is more likely to be the best default choice. This is just kind of a notice to you using this book that from here on out, in general, we've decided to translate I to 저는 in these sentences because it's the most appropriate for a default context. But, in other contexts outside of a textbook, in a real life situation, sometimes you might want to use 제가. It just depends on the sentence. If I want to introduce a friend, 제 친구 or 우리 친구, generally 제 친구, generally my friend. Is there a difference between 저는 and 나는? Yes. So 저는 is used in formal language when you're speaking more formally, and 나는 is used in casual language in 반말. It's called 반말 when you're speaking casually, and when you're speaking casually, you use 나는. And this is the book right here. Is there a way to check your answers? Yes. We do have a whole answer section in the back. And in the back, we also add lots of these little tips so that as you're using the answers, we actually explain things. We give you advice and tips as well to help you as you're going through the answers as well. Especially on questions that we expect will be difficult or people will have questions on, then you can use those answers in the back with the tips. Can you get the workbook digitally? Yes, this book is available. We do have PDF copies for sale on our website. They are cheaper as well. If you prefer a digital copy, you can get them on our website in PDF form. Otherwise, if you want paperbacks, it's linked in our live stream right here, and also in our profile. You can get them on Amazon as well.